Well, hello, good morning. How's everybody doing? That's wonderful. We have a Toyota Highlander with a bunch of stuff going in it. So let's take a look real quick. It's all in boxes and it's clearly labeled. So we have this guy right here, which is the front speakers. This is the radio. This is sound deadener. This one over here. This one is rear speaker, amp and sub. Organized and ready for us to put in. We didn't do that, the customer did. What do we have going in? Well, we got a set of Morel components going in the front doors. We have a set of Morel coaxials going here in these rear doors. We have a D 4.800 to power that. And then we're doing one of these. Little Alpine 8-inch powered guy. No, I haven't done too many of them. They're not one of my favorite things, but you guys ask about them. So we'll finally get to put one in the video and you guys will get to, get our reaction to it and see how it sounds. So positive there. We're also going to put a Pioneer 8200 in the dash. However, we're going to use the processor and the audio control D 4.800 to run everything. Stinger power wire, lots of stuff. He's doing some sound deadening. Doesn't want to do fast rings. Whatever works for you. Fernando's already getting started. He's starting on the passenger side door. We need to do some exploratory surgery. He brought some harnesses with him that he wants us to use, so we want to figure out what they are. I'm going to just start taking the car apart because he wants to put the amplifier in the back here. He's from up north where they use the heater, so we don't want to put the amps underneath the seat. The only thing that is going to go underneath the seat is that powered 8-inch. We're going to try to fit that underneath the driver's seat. Maybe the passenger seat, just depends. We have to figure out which one we can mount better. You ready, Fernando?
I'm ready.
He's ready. All right, let's get to it. Fernando's already got the door off. He's over there. He's going to do some sound deadening. Hold the piece up. So that's that NVX sound deadening. We're going to put some of that in. We've never used that stuff before. We'll see how that works. So these are the front speakers we're going with. We're doing the Morel Tempo Ultra two-way 602s. Comes with a mid-bass tweeter and an outboard crossover network. This guy right here. He also brought with him some stuff. He's got the wiring harness adapter, so we just plug in. He brought these guys here. He brought another wiring harness that he got from these guys. And he's got the kit for the door, which is 82, 8150. This is the factory. We've already taken it out. Mount the amp right here, this spot right here, this area right here in the back of the car. What we want to do is start getting apart this whole side of the car, get these seats out so we have plenty of room, because he only wants one power wire runs. We're going to run the 4-gauge back, and then out of the 4-gauge we're going to have a distribution block here to go off to the audio control amplifier, and then go forward to the Alpine little amplified gimmick underneath the front seat. I want to make sure we have plenty of space to do that. Let's get started pulling this apart. just got the back of the car and all the side panels out. Now the reason why we went ahead and took all this stuff out, we're gonna be running the power and all that down here, and we want to be able to run the signal and everything down this side. And I just didn't want to fight with these side panels, and anytime you have third row seating, it can be a real pain to navigate around these things. We went ahead and removed all the running boards on both sides, and Fernando's making pretty good progress on the front door here. We have his sound dampening behind the speaker and also around the bracket. You almost good?
Almost done.
What he's doing now is he's removing the sound deadening from any screws that are on the door, so that if this thing needs to be serviced for any reason, they're not going to be covered. All the wires will clip back into their factory clips. Something important anytime you're doing any form of sound dampening is to make sure that you can still get to service the car. A lot of people will cover this whole area here, which is fine, but keep in mind that when you do that, if you ever need to service your window, you're gonna have to throw all that stuff away. The other thing we went ahead and did was get the dash speaker out, which is up here. What we wanted to do is see, for one, if the brackets he got would fit, and they will, and also we wanted to plug in that harnesses that he got. These guys right here. This is gonna allow us to do is it's going to give us feed from the radio, so we have input signal, then we have output signal going off to the speaker in the door. We're going to be able to run the input signal into the crossover, this guy here. So we're going to be able to run the input signal from the sound into the crossover. The output will go up into this, so that'll feed the door speaker, and then we'll run a third wire off of this up to the tweeter. And we'll be able to mount these somewhere in the dash where they'll be out of the way and nice and safe and secure. Those are kind of neat little things. The plan now that we have all this car apart is to start removing the dash, get the radio out of the car while Fernando keeps trugging away at the speakers. Or I might also see where I'm going to mount that subwoofer. I haven't decided yet. I'm going to do one of the two. Well, either way, I'm gonna get to it. All right, so I'm not a big fan of the unknown, and so I got to thinking, I'm gonna do the under seat subwoofer and figure out where that goes. Check this out. These are some brackets I made. All right, now let's take a look at how they fit. We ended up going underneath the driver's front seat here, and it actually fit in nice and snug with the seat rail pushing this thing in place. Probably could have just left it like that without having to worry about it, but you know, why? What we did is, this is going to attach here. We'll put some screws to hold this into the plastic so that it doesn't rock back and forth. And then this guy right here is going to sit underneath that seat bolt. So it's gonna be nice and in there, nice and firm. So it'll allow itself to couple with the car and get as much base as possible out of this. Plus it's underneath the driver's seat. You'll get as much base as possible because you're in the closest proximity to it. The wires are going to run, there's a little channel right here where the factory wires go. So we'll be able to just snug this in tight like that, run the wires up and around and over and do all that fun stuff. This is all set and ready to go as far as how we're gonna mount it. Wiring's not done, but I wanted to get that done. So now that we have that one little thing checked off, and that's a little one, I'm gonna go ahead and start on the, hey Fernando, how you doing, buddy? I'm gonna start on getting the radio out of the dash so we can make sure we have all the right harnesses and stuff like that, and then we'll go flash the module. Next up is going to be our USB. For this, he got an Access AXTOY USB. That should be this gray plug right here, gray to gray. All right, he got an antenna adapter. This is the 40LX11. Now this does have a blue turn-on wire, so we got to make sure we hook that up. If you don't hook this up, your reception will be diminished. The ST02 is for SiriusXM and GPS antenna retention. We're doing a Pioneer. The ST02 comes with the retention for your GPS antenna for both Kenwood and Pioneer. And I'm assuming one of these also fits Alpine, and also the SiriusXM for your SVX 300 add-on tuner. We have the TO2 iData link harness. So inside that we have our backup camera retention. Has our OBD2 connector. Set that right there for right now. Our accessories plug and our two power and ground are right here also. We'll plug in the speaker. One leftover plug. So it looks like we have everything we need. We need to take out, we need the antenna and the iData link harness so we can get this over the bench and prep it all up. We can leave in our SiriusXM and our GPS antenna bypass and our USB. We're not going to need those, but we're going to need these. Out of this, all we need is the brain box and the data-to-data harness. Everything else, all the extra pieces, we're just going to put in here, so like the OBD2 plug, and we'll give this back to him just in case he needs it for anything. Now what we're going to do is cut this apart, get all the wires, and get everything straightened up looking pretty, and then of course we'll solder on the cool Pioneer harness. Ready? Let's get started. The harness is all set and ready to go. We have the car side here, radio side here. This is the antenna added on. We have our speaker wires here so we can hook our amp up to it. This is going to be the backup camera. What we want to do is unplug the Maestro because that is the last thing that gets plugged in. You don't want to make the mistake of plugging it in the wrong order. Set this all aside right now. Move on to the dash kit.
First thing we want to do, take the door panel off. We have this clip right here, so carefully just pop it out. I don't think this one is factory. Maybe, I don't know. It looks kind of cool.
That is cool.
Yeah. You see?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I like it. Behind this, if you don't have it, of course, it's another screw behind the handle right there. You grab your pry tool and carefully try to pry the switches out. This one is kind of hard. Grab like a flat screwdriver, skinny one, and from the side, wiggle it a little bit. And then there, it's another Phillips screw. This one is just 2 clips. And then from there, you just pop out the door panel. Just always go around it. Don't try to pull it from one side. And there you go. Let's pull the factory speaker out. This looks like a 7-inch. So we're going to put sound in here.
This that he's provided with us, 4 pieces, it's a 4-door kit. Where you want to concentrate your sound deadening is back here, directly behind the speaker, and then around where you're mounting the speaker to make this as rigid as possible, just like you saw in the previous door we did.
Let's get to it.
He gave us the American International TOY K990. For those of you that aren't familiar with American International, it's basically Best Kits. Best Kits owns, or PAC I should say, owns this company. It's the same stuff. The radio's all mounted in the kit. What we're going to do is we're going to take it over to our power supply. We have a test plug and power the radio up, make sure that opens and closes okay. Eject. Perfect. Hey, look at that. It's got a CD in it. So it opens and closes. So the opening and closing before we actually get into the car is a new thing we started doing, mainly because of like the 4200s and that some of these kits are really, really tight, because nothing sucks worse than once you get it in the car having to do that. So anytime we can now, we just test them on the bench, then we put them in the car and we know it's gonna work.
Have our speaker panels. What I like to do is cover the speaker panel with a Sharpie around it and cut it off to mimic the speaker, and then I can see how much I have to cut it. It's gonna be a little bit more. Yeah, I think that's enough. All right, we have our sound deadening ready. We're gonna put it to the side. Now we're going to put some foam on the speaker panel back and front, and I'm out. Don't worry, we got more. So always the hole that's gonna be your top. The sound deadening is gonna sit like this. So now let's go to the car and finish the speaker. Now that we have the speaker, now let's go and unplug these clips so we can have access to put our sound deadening. When you're applying the sound deadening, make sure you don't go all the way, because you might have to cut it and trim it to the side of the door panel.
That's so you don't scratch the door with your knife?
There you go.
You done?
Yes, the speaker is done.
Alright.
All the sound deadening. It's good.
As we said, this is the area that you want to concentrate your effort on, is around the speaker. That's where all the sound is going to be coming from. Beautiful job, Fernando.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Plan is I grab like 1-inch Centra plastic, also 1/8 inch ABS. I'm gonna do is I'm gonna attach it to this. The crossover is gonna be like this. It's a bolt under the dash I'm gonna use. I don't know if you guys can see this bolt right there. That it's my bolt, so I can hold this mount. Alright, crossover is done, but we have the input right here. Just label it. I put the MB in there for the mid bass, TW for the tweeter, so just in case somebody have to take it out, they know what wires are. So now that we have the new tweeter mounts that Dean made for me, we're not gonna use this ones, we're gonna give them back. We have a mount. Perfect. The bracket came with 4 long screws. They really long, so we're not gonna use those. We're gonna use these tiny ones. So the bracket is gonna sit right here.
For this install, we're going to do the D4800. What makes this amplifier unique is that it has a DM processor built into it from audio control. So that's going to be the EQ, the crossover, the time correction, all that stuff is built into this. It also has a line output to go to the subwoofer. So this basically has 4-channel input and then 1-channel output. Comes with the USB cable so we can plug it into the laptop when we're done. We have some instructions here. Those out for right now. Now, anytime you do an amplifier that has some form of removable top with screws or anything like that, make sure you screw the screws into either the top if it has provisions or the amplifier. But screw the screws into something. Don't just assume that, like, if you put them in a nice little corner on the end of your workbench, that when you're done with the amplifier, they're gonna be there. A lot of the times life happens and they disappear, and then you're like, oh crap. Now we'll just go ahead and put this top back in this bag. I'm not a big fan of the top on these. I feel like it kind of hides all this niceness that is the audio control amplifier. A lot of the times we just give it back. We're like, I want to see this. This is where all the lights are, so you can figure out what the heck is going on with your amplifier. For those of you that are unfamiliar with the amp, this has front input, rear input, sub output. It also has an LC7i built into it. Have a tweeter input, a mid-range input, and a rear input. So there's 3 inputs built into this, which makes things really nice. So you can actually do summing built into the amplifier. And then you have the input if you want to add a subwoofer volume control or master system volume. And then you have your speaker outputs right here, 240 amp fuses. On the top, you just have your GTO sense switch. GTO stands for great turn on. So if you're going to be doing this high level, you can use signal sense to turn on the amplifier so you don't have to go hunt for an accessory. And then of course you have all your lights for inputs, outputs, and your clip light. And then you have your communication, your protection, and your power all over here. So there's lots of lights going on in this amplifier. Look at all those. For us, we're not going to be using the high level input, and we'll take these off and we'll put them in the bag as well so we don't lose them. For now, we'll leave our speaker clips on here, but they are removable, which is nice. So these both come off. Grab our panel where this is going to mount, and we'll figure out how we're going to do that. This is that rear panel in the back of the car where he wants to mount the amplifier. We just want to figure out where we want to put this to take up the least amount of room possible. I'm thinking the wiring is going to have to go up into this section here. We also have a distribution block we have to put in here because we have to come into this and then out back up to the amplified subwoofer. I think what we're going to do is we're going to make a piece of plastic that fits inside of this so that we can attach everything to it and then go ahead and drop it in place, because this has got a curve here, and I think it'll just be nicer to do that instead of just trying to attach everything to this panel here. That way we can zip tie in all our wires so they're nice and firm and secure. So we'll take some measurements here. 14. Have our plastic. This piece will fit in here nice, and then all we'll have to do is drill a hole right here when we're done for all the wire to run out of. I'm not sure yet, but let's go in the car and take a look. So I went ahead and set the panels back in the car real quick just so we could take a look. This area here was where we were thinking about drilling a hole. If we did that, that would be fine. We could get around this bracket here, and then over here in the corner there's a spot where it will allow us to get up behind this panel right in this area here, so we won't have to drill. Actually come around and then in up into here. So that means we don't actually have to drill or cut any holes. It will make like a Lego, like putting it back together, kind of difficult because we'll have to like make sure we put one piece back in at a time. I think we'll be okay. So we have a plan on how we're going to run the wires. Essentially what we want to do is we're going to have the power go out this way. We're going to have the signal go out this way. amplifier is all wired up, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab that back piece that we're gonna set it in. I'm gonna drill the holes, get it all mounted in that so that we can get it back into the car. Back here, this piece actually is gonna have to go in last, which is gonna suck because it actually now has to go in first. We need to make sure we leave enough slack so we can kind of move it around a little bit. Not too much slack because we're gonna need every inch of wire, but enough slack so that we can move it around to get these panels and everything back in. All right, but anyways, let's go ahead and get this over to the workbench. We have the amp mounted in place. What we did is, as you saw, we went ahead and removed some of the screws that were holding the stuff down so we don't have any extra screws anywhere on here, so they're kind of hidden. Other thing to note is that like this amplifier, everything is set through the laptop. It has no gains, it has no crossover external. What we're gonna do is we're just gonna unplug these speakers for now. We're gonna plug it into the laptop and we'll get it all dialed in once we get it powered in, but we don't want to take the chance of anything happening until we do that. All right, let's get it into the car. I'm just testing my run where the wires are so that I can make sure that I can jockey this thing around while I get the panels back in. Because like I said, this actually has to go in last. Where we want it, I got some zip ties in there just to get an idea. Now I'm zip tie the heck out of this thing. I'm gonna zip tie these power wires, there's two, into the factory harness so it'll all go forward. You know, there's nothing that sucks worse than getting a wire all zip tied up and then going, oh yeah, I have another wire I need to run with that.
Like when you forgot your base knob?
Yeah.
Base knob wire?
Yeah, like when you forget to run the bass knob or some other silly thing, remote. Yeah, those always suck. So I just got done zip tying it up. I'm gonna cut them all off. Do it again.
Hey, Dean strikes again.
Yeah, focus, Dean. So we come up with a strategy here. There's a wiring harness that actually runs up underneath the carpet here and then it kind of goes this way and up. If we follow that, we'll have about 8 inches more than we need, which is perfect. Got enough in the dash for us to use. It came up to be right here, which is perfect because the Pioneer actually has a pigtail on it for front and rear, which is all we're running. Perfect amount of RCA. Wire is ran up to the front, which is great. So that means I can start putting the car back together again. I still have to ground the amplifier, which is nice because there is a factory ground point over here that we're going to use. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do it right now before I forget. Back of the car and the passenger side all put back together. We're finishing up on the driver's side still. We still have to hook up the power for the subwoofer and of course get the wire through the firewall. Fernando's working on that right now. So this is where the amplifier is going to live. And of course we have the side panels all back on and the seat is in. Yay! Fernando's going through the firewall and dealing with that. I'm gonna go ahead and jump into the radio, try to get the harness put in and all that, get that all put back together.
So we're done with the fuse. We make like a L. It's gonna attach to the battery holder, just in case if they need to have access to the filter, they can actually just unscrew this 10mm, move the fuse a little bit this way, and they can have access to that filter. It's not gonna be in the way.
Where did you end up coming through? Checklist real quick. Fuse, the power is hooked up, the radio's in the dash, the amp is in, the car's almost put back together. The last piece of this puzzle is to wire up that subwoofer underneath the seat that I built the brackets for earlier. Just gonna get that done and then we can hear it, tune it, and get it out of here, right?
Yes.
So we have our wires sitting right here. We're just gonna tip the seat back and get this thing hooked up. At that time, we're ready. So this blue cable here that comes with it, this plugs in right here. This is gonna be your USB connection. We still have the speakers unplugged. I'm gonna come over here and hop in the passenger seat, have my laptop, turn this on, radio's on. We have the blue light coming from the amplifier. The amplifier's on, that's good. If you're doing one of these, it's gonna ask you for a pin. The pin is right there, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hardware firmware is not up to date. Update it. Please make sure the communication not accidentally interrupted. We're gonna hit OK, and then we're gonna sit still and wait for it to update. Got our output view, make sure we have a crossover on. So then we wanna look at summing. We wanna make sure we have no summing. 3 and 4 is just rear, front, and then we'll check line out. We can set as front and rear. That way if you fade from front to rear, it'll stay the same. EQ set to flat right now. Plug in the speakers. So we're done playing with the crossovers for now. What we want to do is get onto the actual tuning. What we should have done, which the step we skipped, is we needed to do polarity testing, but I'm guessing none of them are out of polarity because they don't sound like it and we're getting a good bass response. But just because I'm assuming that none of them are out of polarity and it definitely doesn't sound like it, and you can tell when one is out of polarity, we're gonna test anyway. All right, everything's in polarity. We're all good there. We're gonna grab the iTest mic, set it up. We're gonna play some songs, some pink noise. We're gonna have some fun. So there we go. This one's done. Hey, look who showed up. They always want to know, what did we think? Did you like it?
Yeah.
Okay. I liked it. I was happy.
That was nice.
You know.
Okay.
Like it was,
the only thing.
What was your thing?
Subwoofer.
Oh yeah.
I was not happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not my style.
You know, when we're tuning the system, we typically tune it with the subwoofer down. So from that point of view, I really didn't care. But then once it turns into a daily driver, and that was the subwoofer that you're going to deal with, I feel like it would just kind of drive me crazy. But that's just me.
I mean, you can turn it down.
He said he really wasn't into a ton of bass, and he at some point wants to do something different, but for right now that's what he's cool with.
That's cool. But no, it definitely sound good.
And for the teenager point of view, Haley, what did you think?
It was fine.
And there you go. That's all you can get out of a teenager. It was fine. It's right up there with, do you have any homework?
No.
How was school today?
Fine.
What are you doing tonight?
Nothing.
What do you want for dinner?
I don't know.
Hey, there we go. All right. Yeah, she passes the test. All right, guys, that was this one. In case you were wondering, this was a 2-day job. I don't know if we didn't mention that. And
well, actually, it's a full day. Because
it would have been a full day. It would have been a full day in a couple hours.
Yes.
Because we started late yesterday because we had things to do in the morning, and then we started this, and then we're working on this, and now we have more cars to do to finish out today's jobs.
And
but that's just how it is. All right, guys, we're gonna wrap this one up. You guys have a great night as always, and we say
on to the next one.
bam.